Hello and welcome to China Farm. Seafood is enjoying growing popularity among diners the world over. It's a high-protein, low-fat, delicious, nutritious and healthy part of our diet.
Tuna, revered for its delicate, refreshing and sweet flesh and its rich and supple texture, has enslaved the palates of foodies. In Fu'an, the spring tea picking season runs from mid-March to Qingming. Due to the local She people's skill at song and dance, simple yet charming melodies can always be heard drifting through tea plantations. Worried that something happened to his great pig king, Mr. Wei decides to use a secret technique to bring him back. Many legends surround the origin of dark tea. Cabbage that has not been fermented cannot be called kimchi. The success or failure of desalination directly determines the taste.
In Anshe Prefecture, Hubei Province, China, there are also two types of tea, one black and one green, which have become the local pillar industry.
Through the rain's nourishment, the tea leaves become fuller and more vibrant. In the grain season of every year, news often surfaces of far higher wages for good tea plant climbers. Not only has the Longshan lily bulb become a key poverty alleviation industry, but it is also an indispensable delicacy in the daily diet of the Longshan people. In addition to the well-known celery stir-fried with lily bulbs, the locals also have many ways of preparing lily bulbs. Unlike the graceful and delicate small-leaf tea leaves from Jiangnan, the large leaves of Yingde black tea look a bit plump and ungainly.
There are 537 households and 2,477 people in this village.
Each household grows an average of about 0.2 hectares, and we produce about 15 tons a year in total.
With its red robe and imposing pincers, the red swamp crayfish reigns supreme. Different ways of preparing it satisfy different taste buds.
Insight into the customs and culture of the time. In today's episode, we'll first listen to a unique sound, melodic as wind chimes and sublime as notes from heaven.
This is the color of Ru Ware. This is the sound of Ru Ware. They are Ru Ware artisans. Ru Ware is porcelain ware, a craft, a way of expression, and more importantly, an attitude towards life. China is the English word for the country China, but it was first used as a term for porcelain.
As we watch the many tons of firewood we place in the fire with our own hands, a strong sense of consciousness arises within us during the firing process. This transformation from one life form to another moves us.
This sentiment is genuinely felt by Wang Zhenfang and Fan Zuizhou, who have been making roux-ware for decades. For this husband and wife team, the most amazing moment of making roux-ware is when the ware is drawn from the kiln. A roux-ware piece produces a unique cracking sound when drawn from the kiln. The sudden drop in temperature as it is drawn causes the interior glaze to crackle as it cools and contracts at a different rate than the interior. If you look carefully, you will be able to see that precious moment when the surface of the roux-ware crackles. The sound of roux-ware crackling is as sublime as that of wind chimes and celestial notes. After crackling, roux-ware takes on an indescribable colour.
Some roux-ware pieces exhibit a pale blue hue referred to as tianqing, reminiscent of the sky clearing after rainfall. These mysterious, miraculous and varied glaze colors can only be produced from our local clay. The water and soil conditions also play a part in producing these glaze colors as well.
Firing different compositions of glaze also results in minute variations in the colour of roux-ware, which generally comprise tianqing, sky blue, pea green and moon white. Wang Junfang and Fan Sui-zhou are husband and wife, as well as decades-long roux-ware partners. Of late, the couple has been planning to craft a piece that reflects their sentiments about crafting roux-ware over the years and incorporates the feelings of the duo.
This should be rounder.
Should be toned down.
This is an expression of affection for roux-ware and for each other cultivated over the years. Infusing such rich feelings into a small piece of porcelain requires exceptional rapport at each step. Throwing is a skill that Fan Sui-zhou has practiced for years.
There's another term for throwing, clay flowing, which literally means the clay is flowing. When we shape the clay up to a certain extent, and everything goes smoothly, the clay flows in our hands. Only when in complete harmony with the clay can one shape it to create smooth patterns and achieve their ideal form. The hands and the heart must be in union.
Fan Sui-zhou has practiced martial arts and Tai Chi for years. Like making porcelain, he has increasingly come to realize the similarities between the two. Strength flows from the interior to the exterior, and sentiment from the eye to the heart.
When you reach a certain level, it becomes mental discipline. So is making porcelain and martial arts. It's about maintaining a sense of tranquility. Good porcelain is made only if you are calm. It is first head knowledge, then understanding with the heart, and then transmitting that to the hands, which is the ultimate executor.
Wang Junfang will carve patterns on the unfired porcelain pieces completed by Fan Sui-zhou. The unfired porcelain may look solid, but it's actually fragile. Each stroke of the knife requires extreme caution. A little too much strength in the hand, and all previous efforts will come to naught. Wang Junfang has honed her skills to perfection with years of practice, and she carves her understanding of aesthetics on roux-ware.
Ru-ware is an outstanding firing technique. While preserving and passing on this technique, we imbue it with our sense of aesthetics. I also express some of my understanding of beauty through the creation of porcelain, so that people can sense the presence of beauty in the porcelain pieces I make.
On this day, the piece jointly created by Wang Junfang and Fan Sui Zhou has been placed in the kiln for firing. As people become more focused on environmental protection and mass production of porcelain in factories, using wood-fired kilns has gradually evolved into a more specialized, protective and experiential firing method. To Wang Junfang and Fan Sui Zhou, firing by way of wood-fired kilns is their means of artistic creation and has a special sense of ritual. As the firewood glows brightly, a miraculous transformation is about to take place. It is said that the ashes and flames from the burning wood enter the kiln directly. The falling ashes, as a result of the high temperatures, become ash glaze and settle on the surface of the porcelain pieces, producing warmer colors and richer textures for the porcelain pieces. To some porcelain enthusiasts, it has indescribable appeal. So, what kind of Ru-ware piece has this couple created this time? This piece, comprising a set of 2 cups stacked one on top of the other, is a joint creation by Wang Junfang and Fan Sui Zhou. The cups are connected by hand-carved auspicious cloud patterns. While each cup is independent when separated, they are a perfect fit when placed together. The married couple named this piece The Encounter.
We are a married couple, so our logo is a dragon and a phoenix, symbolizing an auspicious union in Chinese culture.
I think we are both quite pleased with the Encounter cups. My cup is on top. Master Fan shapes the clay and his cup is below. This not only represents one of the best encounters between husband and wife in life, but also represents encounters between schoolmates and colleagues.
This is in fact a wonderful state of life for a person.
The two of us are like the Tianqing color of Ru-ware, blended, unified. We study together. If you have shared interests and enjoy working on something together, you have a lot of topics in common and can better present things that are the best and the most beautiful.
Wang Junfang and Fan Sui Zhou's passion for Ru-ware and their feelings for each other are almost integrated. Not only are they skilled artisans with exceptional artistic achievements, but they have also candidly and sincerely imbued their Ru-ware creations with what is true, good and beautiful in human nature. Set of Ru-ware again. the Janware tea bowl became the most representative teaware. Today, tea contests are no longer popular, and only a handful know how to make Janware tea bowls, mainly because the product yield is too low. Each kiln produces 15,000 tea bowls per month, but the product yield is less than 10%. In the eyes of Jian Guixi, products deemed superlative number in the single digits. The rest he smashes and destroys. Many fail to understand this near-maniacal act and have nicknamed him Madman.
My devotion to Janware tea bowls is unwavering. I sold my car and house in Fuzhou, returned to Jianyang, and began to acquire large amounts of seemingly useless ceramic fragments. My goal was to recreate Janware tea bowls, so I needed to study these fragments. This meant spending lots of money. Many fail to understand why I bought them, rather than intact bowls. Only a madman would spend so much money on these.
Jianyang District, Nanping, in Fujian Province, is located in the southern foothills of the Wuyi Mountains. Hojing village of Shuiji Town is the historic site of a Janware kiln. This kiln was established in the Tang dynasty and thrived during the two Song dynasties. The 135.6-meter-long dragon kiln is the longest of its kind found in China to date. As tea drinking methods changed, Janware tea bowls began to fall out of favor from the mid to late Yuan dynasty and were forgotten over time. Henceforth, the firing technique for Janware tea bowl was lost for nearly 800 years. Today, only fragments strewn across the mountains still tell of its heyday. Jian Guixi and his mentor Xu Jiayou are frequent visitors, excavating those precious and irreplaceable treasures near the historic site. Red clay, peculiar to Hojing village and its surroundings, is the primary material for making Janware tea bowls. It has very high iron oxide content, the key to producing the superlative markings on Janware tea bowls. Wedging is the first thing to do after the red clay is acquired. The clay's original structure is broken down and reshaped. Repeated kneading removes surplus air from the clay and makes it more pliable, so that it meets the preliminary condition for making Janware. Throwing requires a pair of nimble hands. Completing throwing for a tea bowl in 1 minute is considered a basic skill. Trimming the foot ring is a crucial step in the trimming stage. Each artisan knows the precise strength their fingertips should exert and the optimal pace at which to turn the wheel. The end result is an array of almost identical Janware tea bowls. This dragon kiln, more than 30 meters long, resembles a dragon sprawling from the bottom to the top of the slope. Temperatures at more than 1000 degrees centigrade not only test the limit of human endurance, but also that of the dragon kiln. Years of firing have enabled Jian Guixi to tell the changes in the kiln's temperature just by observing with his eyes. The high resin content in pine wood helps make the glaze on Janware tea bowls glossier and more delicate.
We're starting. Hurry up. Okay.
The varied markings on Janware tea bowls are the result of natural changes in the glaze under particular temperatures and atmospheric conditions. Unfired ceramic pieces, identical in form, placed in different sections of the kiln are subjected to varying temperatures, giving rise to the distinctive markings on Jianware tea bowls. These include the so-called hare's fur, oil spot, tea dust and partridge speckles, among others. Controlling the firing temperature competently is extremely crucial. At this moment, the stoke holes on both sides of the dragon kiln are operating at their maximum. The entire kiln looks as majestic as a fire-breathing dragon. This also means that the temperature inside the kiln has reached the maximum required to fire Jianware. A pyrometric indicator is used to check the temperature. At this time, the temperature inside the kiln is at 1,300 degrees Celsius. Jian Guixi is about to do something even Xu Jiayou thinks is a crazy idea. The leaf of the hardy banana, a tropical plant, is large and has a high water content. Jian Guixi wants to use it to rapidly cool the temperature inside the dragon kiln from 1,300 degrees to 800 degrees. If he fails to control the temperature properly, the dragon kiln could collapse at any moment. But if he doesn't do it, the superlative markings will not appear on the Jianware tea bowl. Risky, but with a potentially magnificent outcome. As the seconds and minutes tick by, Xu Jiayou anxiously observes the changes in the kiln fires. Fortunately, their 2 days and 2 nights of anxiety have passed without danger. The temperature inside the kiln has to cool, and it's a week's wait until the kiln is unsealed. The excruciating 7-day wait is over. The day for unsealing the kiln has finally arrived. There's an old adage in Jianyang: it's make or break running a kiln. Will this kiln make a profit or a loss? We're about to find out.
It's good. This hare's fur is gorgeous. It's been more than a decade. We've done it.
No doubt, the successful production of a Jianware tea bowl depends on the consummate skills of the artisan, but the rest is based on luck. The creation of a Jianware tea bowl represents the crystallization of the artisan's wisdom. As an ancient teaware, it not only preserves but also passes on the essence of tea culture. The philosophy of favorable timing and geographical and social conditions is embodied in this tea bowl.
The varying azure glaze of Ru porcelain and complex colors of ancient-style Fujian teacups make each piece unique and visually stunning. A good set of teaware not only showcases the artisan's skill, but also incorporates their understanding of beauty and the essence of life. This has been another edition of China Farm. Bye for now.
To the heart of Africa and embark on a soulful journey. China-Africa Bond is back. Documentaries.
She decides to go to Guangdong.
Animations.
Just give us everything.
Dramas. Experience a feast for your senses. A timeless emotional bond. The harmony between land and life. journey where flavors and cultures intertwine. In the warmth of human connections amid the pulse of the city. From villages to cities, from the past to the present, from grasslands to glaciers, there's a story for everyone. Available on over 20 major media platforms with 7 alternative languages covering English, French, Arabic, Portuguese, Swahili, Fulani, and Amharic. You don't want to miss it.
Hello and welcome to China Farm. People call Sairam Lake in northwestern China the last tier of the Atlantic Ocean, for its water comes from rainfall formed by seawater evaporation. There were no fish in the lake until 1998, with the introduction of fish farming from Russia. The first catch 2 years after that ended the lake's unproductive history. Recently, our crew went there to report on the farming of northern whitefish, but ran into a big problem.
The correspondent trekked all the way to Sairam Lake, but was caught off guard by a big problem. They were supposed to go fishing today, but what on earth are the fishermen doing?
It was really windy yesterday. We can't go fishing today. The boats can't be used.
It turns out that strong winds overturned the fishing boats last night, and the cabins are filled with icy snow, so going out on the lake is not possible.
Our catch of 3,000 to 4,000 fish is now delayed.
Sairam Lake, located in the Tianshan Mountains, is a closed alpine basin water system surrounded by mountains and glaciers. The weather in the lake area can change drastically within a day, especially in winter, when the lashing winds can cause temperatures to plummet to as low as -30 degrees Celsius. So why do fishermen still want to go out to fish in such harsh weather conditions?
This is the time when you have the biggest catch and the freshest fish.
The Pelyads in Sairam Lake have a breeding cycle of 4 years or more, and winter is the best time for catching Pelyads. If fishing is not completed this winter, then the efforts made over the last 4 years will have been in vain. Such delectable Pelyads must not only be caught when the temperature is at its coldest, but also swiftly delivered within 24 hours from the time they are removed from water to Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou, thousands of miles away, so that their exquisite taste is not compromised before diners get to enjoy them. What sort of miraculous fish is the Pelyad that fishermen would spare no effort in catching and delivering in such haste? Can delivery to Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou be achieved within 24 hours? With these questions in mind, we decide to return to the base first and hope that we can go out for a catch the next day. Before daybreak the next day, the correspondent heads to the fishing departure point by the lake. The fishermen are already waiting impatiently in the tent.
We've arrived at Sairam Lake. A total of more than 10 boats are already at 4 fishing departure points waiting to leave at the same time. We will be boarding one of the boats to begin our fishing journey today.
It's 6 a.m. with temperatures at close to 30 degrees Celsius below zero. Why on earth would the fishermen want to set out at such a freezing hour?
I'm busy right now. Let's talk later. I don't have the time to speak with you just yet. Guo, come on, get in the boat. Let's go, Guo.
Mr. Ma says he wants to ensure that the Peliads are delivered to major cities such as Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou as soon as they are removed from water. That's why they must leave before dawn and race against time for their catch. This is a big lake, but the fishermen are still using the tiny boats that were frozen yesterday for the catch. Why not use other boats? The fishermen tell us that these tiny boats are necessary for catching Peliads. Despite their size, they possess a hidden feature, as do the nets. The fishermen do not use the net casting method we are familiar with. Rather, they lay more than 30 mazes in the clear and calm lake. Why do they use mazes instead of casting nets?
The longest is over 2 kilometers and the depth exceeds 40 meters. Nets like these ensure that all the caught fish will be fresh.
It turns out that the Peliad is an extremely delicate fish. If nets are cast to catch them, intense tugging and colliding will easily injure the fish. The mazes, on the other hand, allow the Peliads to swim and finally congregate in a net similar to a cul-de-sac. This is a gentler fishing process.
Wow, it's heavy. What a lot of fish.
This net contains about 300 to 400 fish. We use 28 nets like these each day.
28 nets?
Yes.
How much can you catch on a day like
5
this?
to 6 tons, I think.
For the extremely delicate Peliad, even fishing by way of mazes causes unavoidable injury.
There are lots of fish scales in the
Yes,
water.
this fish is delicate. The scales fall off the moment you touch it.
Here, give us a hand. Oh! That's a lot of fish. Let me see what it looks
Hey,
like.
don't. Please, don't take it out.
Why not?
This fish dies once it's removed from water.
Dies when it's removed from water. Now, that's really delicate. It seems that taking the Peliad out of water triggers a strong stress reaction, causing it to die. Isn't there any other way to have live fish?
Haven't they already
Not at
been
all.
removed
This
from
is a
water?
live fish compartment. There's water below.
It's connected to the lake?
Yes, this cabin is connected to the lake. It's just like being in the lake so as to preserve their vitality.
Water inlets installed in the cabin connect it to the waters of Seiram Lake. These live fish compartments allow the Peliads to continue to survive while being transported. They are removed from water only when they are on shore, so that they remain fresh for as long as possible. So that's the hidden feature of the tiny fishing boat. The live fish compartment ensures that the Peliads survive for as long as possible, but the fishermen take even greater pains to ensure that its delicate flesh is perfectly preserved.
There's a fish on the net.
Slow down. Don't damage my fish.
What's wrong?
Don't damage it.
How do I remove the fish?
I'll do it. Here.
How?
Use scissors.
What? Use scissors? What for?
Cut it out.
No way. Can't you just pull it out? Why cut the net?
That's how we fish here. We damage the net, not the fish. Unlike other types of fish, ours is vulnerable to touch.
Out of love for the Peliads of Seiram Lake, damaging the net rather than the fish has long become a tacit understanding among the fishermen. Touch it and its scales fall off. Remove it from water and it dies. An entire net is even destroyed for it. Surely this delicate fish must be endowed with certain intrinsic value. On what basis does the Peliad deserve to be so carefully treated by the fishermen? Mr. Ma tells the correspondent that the Peliad's most significant advantage over other types of fish is its unparalleled tender flesh. Isn't it very common for fish to have tender flesh? Exactly how tender is the Peliad?
fresh and tender is the Peliad? It's stuck. How fresh and tender is the Peliad? The people here tell me that I'd leave a bloodstain here if I press it.
It sounds a bit exaggerated that the fish would bleed internally when people press its surface. Please
Let
be
me
gentle.
press it. Let's see if there's a bloodstain. I'm going to cut it open now. Goodness, there is a bloodstain.
Internal injury at a touch vividly illustrates how extremely tender the Peliad is. But what attracted Mr. Ma to the Peliad initially was another extreme characteristic pertaining to its
Yummy. Tastes great.
Delicious.
Eating the Peliad by the lakeside is the best way to experience its chewiness, richness, and extraordinary texture. Recall coming to the lakeside for the first time in 2013. I was not used to eating raw food, but after eating it that day, oh, that freshness and fragrance. I forgot my table manners and ate my fill. The weather was fantastic that day. The beauty of eating the fish by the lakeside left an indelible impression on me. I'll never forget it.
Why does the of this fragrance? Mr. Ma says the secret is in Seiram Lake.
The water is so clear.
Yes, you can see up to 18 meters deep.
18 meters. Why is it?
Ice water from the mountains.
Seiram Lake is pure with transparency at more than 10 meters. It's far from industrial pollution and is also known as the Clean Sea. The pristine water quality, free from pollution, and Gamaridia, a natural bait from the lake, have enabled the Peliad to accumulate a wealth of flavorful substances. While water quality and bait ensure the quality of its flesh, the inherent fragrance of the Peliad is attributed to another major characteristic of Seiram Lake.
Why is it so fat? I'm surprised that such a cold lake could nurture such a fat
It's
fish.
precisely because the lake is cold that the fish needs a lot of fat to protect itself.
Oh, now I understand. It's just like me. When winter arrives, people need a down jacket to withstand the cold, and I depend on my fat, right?
Seiram Lake is the largest and highest alpine lake in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. As the lake waters are freezing cold, the production cycle of the flesh is long, and a Peliad takes 4 years to mature from fry to a commercially viable size. In addition, the cold contributes to the accumulation of fat. The unsaturated fatty acid in the Peliad's body is 3 to 4 times that of a regular fish. Water quality, bait, lake water, and temperature all contribute to the Peliad's unique aromatic flavor.
Wow, this lake is huge.
450 square kilometers.
The 300-million-year-old Seiram Lake holds 21 billion cubic meters of water, sufficient for a substantial annual Peliad output, allowing more people to enjoy it and generating higher economic value. To protect the lake's resources, however, Mr. Ma insists that output be controlled. The Peliad caught after much hard work tastes best when eaten by the lakeside. The local chef tells us that there is a very particular way of cooking this dish and is timed to the second.
1 second too early and it's undercooked. 1 second too long and it'll be burnt. It has to be precisely 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Hurry.
So what is so extraordinary about the carefully nurtured Peliad in terms of taste? As its flesh is exceptionally delicate, not only is this fish dish prepared a very particular way, but the way it is consumed is also distinctive.
I didn't use much strength. Why did the flesh break apart so easily? Why does it break apart at a pinch?
Forget about using chopsticks to eat this fish. The flesh breaks apart at a pinch. Use a spoon to scoop it instead. Short-fibered and delicate, the flesh of the Peliad is free from intermuscular bones, earning it the nickname tofu fish among locals. As its flesh is as delicate as tofu, controlling the cooking time and temperature when grilling is paramount.
This fish is very fat and oily. You can't grill it for too long. It is cooked in just a few minutes. It will harden if it's over-grilled. Yummy.
The Peliad may be delicious, but this delectable Peliad has its Achilles heel. Few get to enjoy it, causing Mr. Ma to worry and age prematurely.
I felt I had aged prematurely, like my hair had turned completely white in 2 years.
In 2
In the last
years?
2 years.
It seems that the Peliad has its Achilles heel. It only tastes delicious eaten by the lake when it's fresh. If removed from water for too long, it loses its color, fragrance, and taste completely. The Peliad-obsessed Mr. Ma has decided to persist to the end and bring the delectable taste of the Peliad to more people as quickly as possible.
I think I will dedicate the rest of my life to ensuring that more people get to enjoy the Peliad. I think this is one task you shouldn't abandon halfway through.
Mr. Ma becomes very emotional all of a sudden during the interview.
Please stop shooting. Nothing is ever smooth sailing. I've never experienced it. Of course, I love it and like it, but look at it from a different perspective. A lifetime is made up of a few decades. Committing my entire effort to this and enduring the hardships is something not easily understood by others. Fortunately, I've come through it.
In order to let more people possible task.
On the dining tables of Beijing and Shanghai within 24 hours.
Oh, come on, you must be joking. How can it be done so quickly?
You can witness the whole process yourself.
The Peliad must be served on the dining tables of Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou within 24 hours after being removed from water, or the quality of its taste will change. But there is a significant distance between the lakeside and Beijing, and various processes, such as packaging and handling the fresh fish, had to be carried out first. It's almost mission impossible. Can Mr. Ma do it?
The boat has docked. The catch is over. Mr. Ma tells me that their fish can be served on the dining table within 24 hours. I don't believe it.
After years of repeated trials, Mr. Ma found that only by setting off in their boats to go fishing in the lake at about 6 a.m. can they ensure that all the fish are caught and removed from water before noon. Preliminary chilling after the fish are removed from water and loading them into trucks must be completed as soon as possible. The third part of the process is the most important. What's the ultimate secret to rapid chilling and delivery ensure freshness.
The fishing boats at the 4 fishing departure points have all docked. The fish are all loaded into containers and are ready to be shipped to the next destination. Can they make it in time? Let's hurry to the next destination.
This is the chilling facility that Mr. Ma has built near the shores of Seiram Lake. After washing and cleaning, the Peliads are rapidly chilled to 45 degrees Celsius below zero in the facility before being shipped by air via the airport. This is the only way to ensure that the quality and texture of each fish are not compromised and that the freshest fish are served to diners in fine dining restaurants in Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou.
Won't admit you love me.
The Peliads that are shipped from Seiram Lake to Beijing's fine dining restaurants have not only gained significantly in value, but the chefs, after numerous trials, have also come up with a new method of preparation: slow grilling at low temperatures. Normally, fish are grilled at more than 200 degrees Celsius, but the Peliad must be grilled for 12 minutes at 80 degrees Celsius. The Peliad will be burnt if grilled for too long or at high temperatures, causing it to lose its delicate high-fat texture.
Wow! It took just 23 hours and 20 minutes from the lakeside to the dining tables of Beijing. Less than 24 hours. It's unbelievable.
Don't you know it?
You rarely get a chance to eat such fresh fish in Beijing. It's fresh and sweet. Yummy. It's really good.
Very tender and very fresh.
It's the truth.
It's delicious. I'm so impressed. It's fantastic. An excellent species, a superlative breeding environment, and exceptional cooking methods have helped create this delectable freshness from the lake.
An unsightly but delicious kind of insect that fetches about $14 per kilogram. Traditionally, cultivating it was impossible, and people could only find it by the shore. Wang Bowen, however, had an idea. He would try to raise the insects in his ponds and make a fortune, like $1 million a year. Is he smart and brave, or just crazy? Stay tuned to find out.
Wang Bo-wen reports a yield of 100,000 kilograms of sandworms this year. If all of them are sold at the current market price, this would translate to over 1.4 million US dollars. But when customers come knocking, he doesn't always sell. What kind of business strategy is that? This trader has come to buy sandworms but couldn't get them. She was angry and argued with some of Wang Bo-wen's employees.
I went to him, but he wouldn't sell to me. I'm annoyed that I have made a pointless trip and have to go away with nothing.
Despite her best efforts, Wang Bo-wen didn't sell her a single sandworm. We were curious. Why was Wang Bo-wen so unmoved by a potential million-dollar deal? Why wouldn't he sell? Was he worried his sandworms were not yet ready? He assured us that this was not the case. His sandworms are ready to be sold.
Look at these sandworms. They're beautiful and fat. They are very good quality.
Is this considered good quality?
Yes, very good quality. They are round with lots of meat and a beautiful color, and both ends are very clean.
The sandworms raised by Wang Bo-wen are all large and mature. This year's yield is high, and traders are ready to buy, but Wang Bo-wen is holding out. His employees and the villagers all wonder why. He says he knows that it may not be cost-effective to keep storing them. Since they are not yet being sold, he needs to continue looking after them. This means extra cost, not only on feed, but also the risk of their death. However, he would rather run this risk than sell. This is a year's worth of back-breaking work. 100,000 kilograms of sandworms can easily earn millions of dollars. So what is he waiting for? This creature is a Japanese shrimp. Just 5 years ago, Wang Bo-wen was still farming this type of shrimp, which alone generated revenues of 7 million US dollars per year. He was a well-known shrimp farmer in the local area. But in 2012, Wang suddenly announced that he was making a switch. He had discovered a good business opportunity that could potentially earn far more. Danzhou lies in the northwest of Hainan province, with a coastline 267 kilometers long. Beneath the sand lives a valuable species, the sandworm. A well-known specialty in Hainan province, the sandworms in Guangcun town are particularly famous. November marks the beginning of sandworm season. In Hainan, sandworms are a beloved local delicacy that everyone loves. They can be sold for 14 to 17 US dollars per kilogram. The most common cooking methods include mincing them with garlic, drying, making sandworm soup, or frying. Wang Bo-wen has cooked up his personal recipe of fried sandworms for our correspondent to taste.
What do you think?
It tastes a bit like shredded squid, but crispier, with a sweet aftertaste.
Local farmers would drop sandworm larvae on beaches around the tomb sweeping festival and only dig for them when they naturally matured, helping to protect their numbers. Wang Bo-wen, however, saw a business opportunity.
Sandworms are difficult to buy in the market, and they can't be easily found in the sea, so the price is quite high.
All the locals know that sandworms are valuable, and some have thought about artificially farming them on a large scale, but it was always too difficult. They're very sensitive to their environment. It is very hard to raise them away from the beach. Wang Bo-wen wanted to do the impossible. Many said he was mad.
Is it possible for sandworms to be farmed inland? If they could, it would earn a fortune.
In 2012, Wang Bo-wen entrusted his shrimp business to his employees and focused on studying sandworms. They needed salt water to grow. Wang Bo-wen's shrimp ponds were filled with seawater brought straight from the coast. In his first year, he bought $14,000 worth of sandworm larvae and put them into breeding ponds. Do you know where the mouth of a sandworm is? This retractable part, called the proboscis, is actually its mouth. It must rely on this mouth to get into the sand and also to eat. At first, Wang Bo-wen fed the sandworms every week. He was full of confidence, looking forward to making big money. But in November 2012, when he went down to the pond to dig out his treasure, he got quite a shock. All of the worms had died. He didn't mind so much about the money as he did about why the worms died. He struggled to figure out how to raise them successfully. The following year, instead of giving up, Wang Bo-wen invested another $28,000 to expand the scale of his operation.
When I first started, it was a desperate battle. After releasing the larvae, I had to renovate the base. By then, the stakes were pretty high. I couldn't fail.
Wang Bo-wen became obsessed with the sandworms. He never runs out of things to say about them, despite being a normally introverted character.
It's come out again here?
All these holes are made by sandworms. Look, all of these are.
Here is a hole. That's also a sandworm hole?
Yes, exactly.
It is a little dent.
All these.
That's definitely a sandworm hole, right?
Yes, exactly. That's very obvious. A sandworm comes out by sucking in the sand, leaving a hole. The holes look a bit like a flower, like a plum blossom. This sandworm has just moved and sucked off some of the algae here.
His studies led to a key discovery. Sandworms feed on algae and microorganisms in the sediment. This means they can only absorb nutrients from sediment, and thus they wouldn't eat any of the feed Wang Bo-wen gave them. Moreover, the feed was polluting their water. So Wang Bo-wen suddenly realized feeding sandworms wasn't viable, but still lacked a clear farming solution. At this point, his employees became disenchanted, leaving him one by one. Wang Bo-wen had a team of over 100 technicians on his shrimp farms, but his 2-year sandworm venture reduced him to a one-man army, still toiling without success. Many advised him to go back to shrimp farming, but he refused to give up.
When I decided to switch to sandworm farming, there was a lot of opposition, and some people even laughed at me. If I failed, I would not only lose money, but also respect. All my technicians for shrimp and sandworm farming had pretty much left.
Wang Bo-wen was not being blindly stubborn. He knew that sandworms were a valuable commodity, and large-scale farming was only a technological gap away. Success would mean great wealth. In 2015, Wang Bowen successfully transformed ordinary seawater into nutrient-rich fertilizer by cultivating algae. At the end of the year, he nervously dug up the sand. What he saw made him euphoric. Living, large, fat sandworms.
Try and catch one. They're sold for about 27 cents each. Catching them is like fishing for money.
For preservation, the newly caught sandworms are wrapped in a layer of dry sand.
The dry sand gives the sandworms some air. It allows them to have a high survival rate after they leave the water in the ponds and are transported. Kept at the same temperature, with a little sand, they can be preserved for about a week.
Like this, they can be kept just like this for a week.
They will stay alive for a full week.
In 2015, Wang Bowen harvested nearly 10,000 kilograms of sandworms and sold them locally, before making the bold decision to shut down his shrimp farming business and transform his 20 hectares of shrimp ponds into sandworm breeding pools. In 2016, he raised 50,000 kilograms of sandworms and sold them for $980,000. In 2017, Wang Bowen aimed to produce 100,000 kilograms, meaning a sales revenue of over $1.4 million if he sold them all. So, now we're here, why isn't he selling? Three days after our team's arrival, Wang Bowen said that he was organizing an event. He invited tourists to his farm to experience sandworm digging. These tourists are actually locals from the nearby city of Danzhou. The event is a hit with the kids. There is a lot of water in.
I've brought my little one here to have a first-hand experience. That's all good fun. A nice way to play around together. It's really a lot of fun.
Are you having a nice time?
Yes, this is fun.
After the tourists have experienced digging for sandworms, Wang Bowen personally cooks and prepares some sandworm dishes.
Have you ever had this before?
No.
Never. Have you eaten sandworms before?
Yes, I have.
How did you have them?
They were cooked in boiling water. But these are better.
Is this different from what you ate?
The taste is different.
You like it?
It's yummy.
What's the difference from what you ate before?
This is crispier.
As our correspondent observed, none of the tourists paid for sandworms at any point. Clearly, Wang Bowen lost money here. So what was his reasoning?
I just wanted to invite them to come and experience catching the sandworms and taste how delicious they are when they're fried. So they're here to share the experience.
Sharing this experience means more people will know about Wang Bowen's delicious product. Perhaps they will spread the news. In this way, his tourists help his business. 5 days into filming, we found that Wang Bowen had workers catching sandworms early in the morning. Then they go through a treatment process.
After washing the surface of the sandworm, you need to take out its insides.
This is how you do it. Turn it inside out.
The inside stuff is removed.
Then they look like this after, right?
Yes.
This is what it looks like after.
Yes, exactly.
So it's empty inside now?
There's probably still some water or seawater in it.
But it's just this layer of skin, yes?
Just the skin.
So when we eat sandworms, we actually eat the outer skin?
Yes, exactly.
The workers wash and pat dry the sandworms they have dug up and then take them to the dryer. This process turns them into a golden colour. They can then be stored for 6 months and are much more convenient to prepare. 1 kilogram of sandworms can usually be sold for over $280. Finally, we thought we had found the secret to Wang Bowen's wealth. But he says he only dries 30% of his sandworms. What about the other 70%? At the Spring Festival in Hainan, a sandworm dish is a must-have. One local saying goes, no dinner can be prepared without sandworms. So, around the Spring Festival, demand skyrockets.
We see a lot of demand during the Spring Festival. Whether it's 200, 300 or even 500 kilograms, I'll have it ready.
So it's exclusive to the Spring Festival, right?
Yes, it's only during the Spring Festival.
If someone wanted 500 kilograms right now, could you do it?
No. I could only sell about 50 kilograms right now.
The real reason Wang Bowen won't sell his sandworms is the current market price. Right now, they fetch $17 per kilogram at most. But during the Spring Festival, they fetch up to $22 per kilogram. With his 100,000 kilograms of sandworms, holding out would mean he could earn an additional $560,000. He can wait.
We are in no hurry to sell now. If we dig all of them out now, the supply will exceed the demand, and that will affect the market price.
As Wang Bowen told the correspondent, patience is a virtue. This is his secret. Wang Bowen is now working hard at promoting his product and producing his dried sandworms, in anticipation of a sales peak before the Spring Festival. Just 2 years ago, the whole city of Danzhou produced only 10,000 kilograms of sandworms per year. Now, with his farming techniques, Wang Bowen alone can produce 100,000 kilograms annually. The success of Wang Bowen's sandworm farming has shown the local government the prospects of the industry. Their next step is to make sandworm farming a major industry, allowing more people to follow in his footsteps.
Even this quantity cannot meet the entirety of local demand. We need to aim for an annual production of 1 million kilograms. By following Mr. Wang's example and using his influence. We're also aiming for markets outside Hainan Island.
Many people rush to make money in business, forgetting that patience is sometimes necessary. Timing is often crucial to achieving the best possible outcome. That's it for this edition of China Farm. See you next time.
Africa and embark on a soulful journey. China-Africa Bond is back. Documentaries.
She decides to go to Guangdong.
Animations. Dramas. Experience a feast for your senses. A timeless emotional bond. The harmony between land and life. A journey where flavors and cultures intertwine. In the warmth of human connections amid the pulse of the city. From villages to cities, from the past to the present, from grasslands to glaciers, there's a story for everyone. Available on over 20 major media platforms with 7 alternative languages covering English, French, Arabic, Portuguese, Swahili, Fulani, and Amharic. You don't want to miss it.
Hello and welcome to China Farm. People call Sairam Lake in northwestern China the last tier of the Atlantic Ocean, for its water comes from rainfall formed by seawater evaporation. There were no fish in the lake until 1998, with the introduction of fish farming from Russia. The first catch 2 years after that ended the lake's unproductive history. Recently, our crew went there to report on the farming of northern whitefish, but ran into a big problem.
The correspondent trekked all the way to Sairam Lake, but was caught off guard by a big problem. They were supposed to go fishing today, but what on earth are the fishermen doing?
It was really windy yesterday. We can't go fishing today. The boats can't be used.
It turns out that strong winds overturned the fishing boats last night, and the cabins are filled with icy snow, so going out on the lake is not possible.
Our catch of 3,000 to 4,000 fish is now delayed.
Sairam Lake, located in the Tian Shan Mountains, is a closed alpine basin water system surrounded by mountains and glaciers. The weather in the lake area can change drastically within a day, especially in winter, when the lashing winds can cause temperatures to plummet to as low as -30 degrees Celsius. So why do fishermen still want to go out to fish in such harsh weather conditions?
This is the time when you have the biggest catch and the freshest fish.
The Pelyads in Sairam Lake have a breeding cycle of 4 years or more, and winter is the best time for catching Pelyads. If fishing is not completed this winter, then the efforts made over the last 4 years will have been in vain. Such delectable Pelyads must not only be caught when the temperature is at its coldest, but also swiftly delivered within 24 hours from the time they are removed from water to Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou, thousands of miles away, so that their exquisite taste is not compromised before diners get to enjoy them. What sort of miraculous fish is the Pelyad that fishermen would spare no effort in catching and delivering in such haste? Can delivery to Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou be achieved within 24 hours? With these questions in mind, we decide to return to the base first and hope that we can go out for a catch the next day. Before daybreak the next day, the correspondent heads to the fishing departure point by the lake. The fishermen are already waiting impatiently in the tent.
We We've arrived at Seram Lake. A total of more than 10 boats are already at 4 fishing departure points waiting to leave at the same time. We will be boarding one of the boats to begin our fishing journey today.
It's 6 a.m. with temperatures at close to 30 degrees Celsius below zero. Why on earth would the fishermen want to set out at such a freezing hour?
I'm busy right now. Let's talk later. I don't have the time to speak with you just yet. Gua, come on, get in the boat. Let's go, Gua.
Mr. Ma says he wants to ensure that the Peliads are delivered to major cities such as Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou as soon as they are removed from water. That's why they must leave before dawn and race against time for their catch. This is a big lake, but the fishermen are still using the tiny boats that were frozen yesterday for the catch. Why not use other boats? The fishermen tell us that these tiny boats are necessary for catching Peliads.